Sirius Sports Show. Jeff Rich live here from Phoenix, Arizona on CentralCityRadio.com. Typically record every Sunday. Appreciate you tuning in. Whether you're checking us out on the live stream on the Central City Radio, it's a podcast if you look for it on Facebook, and check out the live video on Sunday evenings. I like to say around 5:30 because it really depends on when I get my rear end on the road and quit all of the other weekend activities. It was a fun weekend to be here in the Valley of the Sun. The weather was absolutely miserable. I went back and forth on my social media at Jeff Rich Talks about how a 90-degree and humid day like we had on Saturday here in Phoenix, just with all the rain all week, which is nice because it wets down the dust, so we're not breathing in that those valley fever spores, which is a big scare story that I got when I got here. We're just about a month short of yours truly being here 20 years in the Valley, if you could believe that. Think about what you were doing the middle of August 2001. I know that everybody's going to ask you in a couple weeks here to look back at what you were doing 20 years ago on what was a terrible day for our country, but not everything about 2001 has to circle around the events in the month of September. I think about that because that's the year I got here, and that's the year that the Diamondbacks won the World Series. They did it, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, in their fourth season. Their fourth season of existence, and it's almost the only piece of Diamondbacks history. I mean, you don't have a 20-year playoff drought here. You don't have a 5-year playoff drought right now. I mean, you think about it, it was 99, 2001, 2002, 2003, maybe they were in the playoffs. And then they don't go back until 2007. And then again in 2011 is the division champ. They were a wild card team in 2017. And they missed out on an opportunity with a deep field a year ago. This team has not been doing well. Maybe you give Lovello and Hazen and everybody a pass. And what happens after you trade Paul Goldschmidt is the real truth. And, we're about to see Seth Beer at the major league level, so you're not going to see all these prospects for proven talent. And with the proven talent going away from the Diamondbacks, you're not going to see the fruit of those trades. It takes some time to cash in on things. Of course, St. Louis had to spend cash on top of giving up Carson Kelly. And what else really? Seth Beer. In order to rebuild, to attempt to rebuild, because they weren't winning with Goldie here. We'll see if St. Louis even wins with Goldie there. But that's in the past. What's in the present? I lost to San Diego. That prevents the 4-game sweep. It was a great weekend to get down to the ballpark and sit in the air conditioning, as long as you could walk through the swampy air that was the humidity. Now, I understand if you're outside all day, the mercury gets higher and it becomes more unbearable, whereas, overcast, humid days, you don't have that sun beating down on you. So, I hear you if you work outside. I definitely do. But, hey, if you got down to the ballpark, roof's going to be closed every night for a long time going forward here, and you can see something. You can see something amazing when you go to the ballpark. You can, more often than not, quite frankly, you can go to an uninspired ball game that doesn't feature a home run, that doesn't have a lot of action to it, a lot of ground ball outs, a lot of like Greg Maddux type of games. I think Zach Gallen's a little bit like that with the. You get action plays, so to speak, but you don't have to have the balls hit into the gap. You pitch to contact. You're pitching to outs. Hopefully, we've learned a lot. This is why I'm against banning the shift, by the way, is we've learned to align ourselves, play the most strategic position. Of course, when you play the shift, you're begging the opposition to slap it the other way versus pulling it for power, but they want to hit the ball over the fence too. because base runners don't always, in the era of the strikeout or the home run, base runners don't always score, even with a leadoff triple, where you figure you just need a fly ball or a ground ball that's not hit right at him. A no-hitter, though. A no-hitter in a major league debut. Congratulations to Tyler Gilbert on getting the job done. I'm really surprised to hear how, first of all, I'm going to say 4 makes it a little less than an extremely rare feat, even though it is probably what most would refer to as an extremely rare feat. Cy Young's wins are an extremely rare feat in that it will never happen. It will never be broken. Now, we might have a 5th guy make his major league debut and throw a no-hitter next week. That's how unpredictable the game of baseball is. And, how about the defense behind him to knock off a team like the Padres? Of course, they bring Tatis Jr., their star there. They bring him back. They put him in right field. He gets 2 home runs in his return. And superstars are going to superstar. And it's not like the Padres only have one guy that can beat you. So, these types of things are going to happen. I used to curse the Diamondbacks for pitching to Stanton late in a 1-run game. Nobody else on the Marlins when he played there could beat you, even though you think about it, and they had Yelich, they had Ozuna, and they had him. But, that was a long time ago. I would think that, and they had Real Muto. I would think that Marlins fans are kind of looking at the present. They're looking at what they've got in-house right now. Seems like every time I'm seeing a Miami game roll across the feed, I'm seeing Jesus Aguilar go deep. See a lot of my former guys with Cleveland. And actually, one of my current guys with Cleveland tried to follow up. He actually tried to upstage in some ways Tyler Gilbert. 7 2/3 innings of perfect game baseball. And I believe the guy's name was Harold Castro in Detroit that broke up potential. Tristan McKenzie. They call him Sticks McKenzie now. A perfect game for him, but takes it 2 outs into the 8th. That's pretty impressive. But getting the no-hitter versus almost having the perfect game, I know that I want the bird in the hand, right? I mean, nobody's really going to talk about. Nobody talks about the guys that go 8 2/3 innings. I think with one limited exception, and that kind of goes against my Cleveland roots too, with Jason Donald hitting a ground ball that it was hit to the first baseman. I don't know if it was Cabrera, but I certainly know that Armando Galarraga, who also pitched for the Diamondbacks at one point in his career, had a perfect game taken away from him. And I just remember listening on like MLB, Sirius radio coming while we were moving up to the first house that we bought up in kind of near Sunny Slope in Phoenix, and we didn't have DirecTV. We barely, I think we had power and water at that point. So I was out in the car and I'm listening to the post game interview, so I didn't even see it live. But you don't want to be that other team. And the Indians have been no-hit twice, and then they got Bumgarnered. I think that is the official title for the 7 innings of no-hit baseball at this point, because it counts. You started the game. You pitched it. You retired every batter, or you forbade any batter to reach by way of a base hit. Obviously, somebody reached base. Otherwise, we're talking about a 7 innings of perfect ball. 7 innings of perfect ball. It's kind of like the hitchhiker in There's Something About Mary. I mean, it's 7 innings instead of 9. He had 7-minute abs instead of 8-minute abs, and said that you can't have 6-minute abs. You can't even get a workout in 6 minutes. But in 7 innings, that's all they permit you to pitch. So what happens if that game goes extra innings? Well, what if we're deadlocked at 0, which theoretically you have to be in a perfect game? And then you get this runner on second. Are the sacrifice flies? Are the bunts? Are the sacrifice bunts enough to break up the no-hitter? Because it's not a plus for the base runner. It doesn't count for your batting average. It just doesn't count as a base hit, so it doesn't count against your batting average either. No hitters, though. I mean, I thought the Diamondbacks had more. I can remember where I was for every one of them. And I can remember where I was on Saturday night. I was in my living room. We had it on the television. Randy Johnson, 2004. I want to say that it was in May. I remember I was out at my spot in Tempe. I heard it in the peripheral. I was having pretty deep conversation. And I hear the crowd on their feet at Turner Field, so I figured the Diamondbacks are about to lose. And sure enough, somebody comes out there like, oh, Randy Johnson just threw a perfect game. And I think that that's a perfect accolade to go along with the World Series championship and the Cy Youngs and all the years that he led the league in strikeouts. And, he's in the Hall of Fame where he belongs. His number is retired like it should be by the Arizona Diamondbacks. They were great because he was great. Now, you could say that Gonzo was great that year. Schilling was great. They had the complementary pieces fill in very well that year. I think that Jay Bell, demonstrated the leadership that comes with playing there. You didn't have to lean heavily on Durazo, but we're talking about a team from 20 years ago, and that's what you tend to do. You tend to look back in the past when the present isn't going well, but the present's going just splendidly. 3 of 4 from the San Diego Padres, and it comes off of a couple losses to San Francisco. And then the week before, I don't think I've talked to you in a while, that loss to San Francisco when they bounced back to win in San Diego the next day. The late grand slams, coming back from 5 down to tie it at 5, and then to tie it again at 7, and then to let it get away from you in the extra frames. That's what bad teams tend to do. And you'd prefer it happen now where, you don't care what the difference is. You go, 64 and 98 versus, 65 and 97, plus or minus 2 games. I think that 100 is kind of that benchmark. And obviously you don't want to be the worst ever, but, it's not about winning and losing games at this point. It's getting a look at new players. Now, I do have a little bit of a fear about you coming out for your first start. Anybody remember the hysteria surrounding Max Hall? They beat the Cardinals beat the New Orleans Saints, and it was like hold on to Max Hall and under all circumstances. And they Cardinals fans thought that they had it figured out. They knew that it wasn't the likes of John Skelton. I think I'd have to go way far back to talk about John Navarre there, but when the expectations are low, it's nice to get the treats, and sometimes you're rooting for it from the visiting team as well, or the team that you're playing against. I got Cleveland playing Detroit. Miguel Cabrera sitting on 4.99. I don't want him to get it against Cleveland. No, the heck with that. And because Tristan McKenzie threw such a good game, it was an 11-0 affair. Obviously, no home runs were hit by the Detroit Tigers. Where do the Diamondbacks go from here? I think that you have to look at when is the iron hot enough to strike? What is your target year? I think that you want to try to catch the Dodgers and the Giants on the decline. But I don't think that you can wait for the descent of San Diego. I think that they're on the up, and I think that they're going to continue to be on the up, and I think that they are going to pass the Dodgers going down. I don't know what to think about the San Francisco Giants just yet. This kind of feels like a fluke season where the years in between the World Series, that they weren't really that close in the odd years. But in the even years, and even when they lost to the Cubs in 2016 to kind of break that streak, they were always really inconsistent. Now, I think that Bochy was a great manager, and I don't think that Kapler is. I think that if Kapler was a great manager, he'd still be in Philadelphia. Of course, some guys make it work with their second stop. And that's exactly what happened with Madden. He took the Rays to the World Series, and then he took the Cubs to the World Series, and he won the thing. Now, arguably, both of those series were kind of a flip of the coin, even though the 2008 series between Tampa and Philly went 6, and then you had that suspended game that the Phillies end up winning like 3 innings after the first pitch that night to claim a world title, and then Madden beats Cleveland in 7 games, and kind of remember that. And, maybe Torrey Lovello hits it at his second stop. But I think that he's done. I don't know what you can say about Mike Hazen. Maybe you give Mike Hazen time to see if his moves worked. But if you're wrong, if you feel you're wrong about him now, and then it's confirmed, but you don't do anything about it for a season or two to let the flowers blossom a little bit, then you have clung to your mistake for 2 years. You got to go with your gut. You got to believe your instinct. And if both of these guys go on and get it done at their next stop, I think Lovello is probably a prime managerial candidate for Cleveland. I know that everybody in Cleveland kind of probably wants it to be Sandy Alomar Jr. And I think that Bud Black up in Colorado, and I think the Lovello will both become available. I mean, truth be told, I want Bob Melvin to manage Cleveland Guardians next year. Have I ever talked about that here? I don't think that I have. We've gone from, the Cleveland Indians. We've dropped the Chief Wahoo, negative imagery. Never a big fan of it anyway. Just from my position, this goes back to when I was a kid. I thought that it was really cheesy. I thought they were cartoon characters, and I thought they'd never win because they looked like cartoon characters when they went from kind of a previous carnation of what they have currently with the block letter C, except it had a white outline on it, and a red bill at all times. And they didn't, they had 80s style, pullover uniforms and things like that. Things that obviously predate the Diamondbacks, but completely beside the point. But Randy Johnson, Edwin Jackson, and Tyler Gilbert. Now let's see how he follows it up. I've seen guys come out of the gate with really strong, never a no-hitter. I wasn't around in 1953. I mean, I looked at the list. I was going to write down the names, and I saw that they all had names like Pops and Tugboat. So I didn't bother writing down the names because they would mean nothing to you as they mean nothing to me as well. Not bad for a franchise that's just 20 years old or so. A little more than that, right? They probably had like 20-year anniversary stuff going on in 2018. I just here today, gone tomorrow sometimes. Especially with the Diamondbacks since 2017. What a thrill that wild card game was. Kind of takes me back to winning in 2001. I don't remember a lot of excitement in 2011, and then back in 2007, I had my own demons to deal with the Indians playing the Yankees and then the Boston Red Sox in the American League playoffs. And they came up short just like the Diamondbacks did of the World Series. Kind of funny. Phoenix and Cleveland have intersected a few times, potentially. In 2007 when Cleveland went to the finals and got swept by San Antonio, that's the year that Robert Horry hip checks Steve Nash out of bounds, and Amari Stoudemire takes 2 steps from his seat on the bench, for a play that happened right on the sidelines, gets suspended for Game 6, and then the Spurs win the series in 7 games. But that could have been the Suns' title against the Cavaliers. Really thought that the Suns had the Milwaukee Bucks this year. Really thought after 2 games, and even after the 3rd game, okay, you don't win the first game on their floor, and then lo and behold, Milwaukee puts it in a situation where they take the home court advantage away from Phoenix by winning Game 5. Right down the street here. Yeah, right down the street here. I'm pointing to the west of our studios here. Again, it's centralcityradio.com. That's where you check out all of the podcasts, including your boy at Jeff Rich Talks on social media. I think that we're going to unofficially call this Jeff Rich Talks live from Phoenix, Arizona, where we talk about the Diamondbacks, we talk about the Arizona Cardinals, the Phoenix Suns, and the Arizona Coyotes when they're in season. I look forward to talking both the Arizona State Sun Devil football and the rest of the Pac-12, which does include the Arizona just a ways down I-10 right here from Phoenix in the state of Arizona. Not so much NAU unless they start doing something spectacular. It's like the Little League World Series. Not every local news station is going to cover the Little League World Series, but if you have a team in your local market that's playing in it, especially if they're playing in Williamsport, that you're going to send some coverage there because you're talking about these 11 to 12-year-old heroes from your community. I remember watching it on and off, and I do remember Cody Bellinger's 2003 team. He played for his father, who played for the Yankees, and after that, actually, I think it was a year later that Clay Bellinger, because of his Greek heritage, got to play for Team Greece because the host team automatically fields a team in every sport in the Olympics. Now, why do I talk about the 2004 Olympics? Because I'm sure as heck not going to talk about the 2020 Olympics, which were just wrapped up here in August of 2021. The 2020 Tokyo Olympics. I guess the American men and women won gold in basketball. And the women's soccer team, I believe that they won bronze. I'm not sure what they did in the follow-up game, but I did see in the gold medal game while I was at the barbershop that the Canadians beat the Swedes in the shootout. So that's all the Olympic coverage that you're going to get from here, because there's just so much going on otherwise. I saw Ryan Randazzo from the Arizona Republic put out there that there were 10 professional sports teams in the state of Arizona that applied for mobile gambling sportsbook applications. And there were 15 tribal requests for mobile facilities, right? So casinos that exist like Talking Stick, Casino Arizona, Fort McDowell, all of those places, they're not going to have to get an extra permit. They're already, a stationary place. But the stadiums, anything that's not on the reservation, is probably going to end up, being one of these applications. And so the question was put out there. Can you list 10 professional sports teams in the state? You start going through the easy ones, obviously, the Coyotes, the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks, and the Suns. And then I start thinking a little more peripherally with it. And you've got the Phoenix Rising. You've got the indoor football league teams, the Rattlers, the Sugar Skulls, the Northern Arizona Wranglers, which are the lone tenant at that. It used to be the Tim Center where the the Prescott or the Northern Arizona Sundogs played. They were I think they were an independent minor league hockey team. Then you had the Northern Arizona Suns, which was formerly the Bakersfield Jam, and the Pistons bought the organization. And they moved it to Michigan. So you've got 3 teams in the indoor football league, the Core 4, Mercury, the Rising, but you don't have to name all of those teams, and the Roadrunners, but you don't have to name all of those teams, because TPC in Scottsdale, and it used to be PIR, whatever the racetrack is, down by Avondale in the West Valley there. Those are 2 of the sites. So you can go to the NASCAR race, and you can presumably bet on any sport that they're going to carry at their book. And I think that it would behoove them to put everything that they can on the board. And then you're going to get that up in the at the 19th hole, where they're just going to be able to print money for the state of Arizona. Assuming the money that goes in that direction, I think that it's going to be wild. I thought that it was crazy just being able to place bets at the gambling window. When I was just looking for a souvenir, I was looking for a Vegas Golden Knights fitted cap. And I see all the odds printed in the window, but I guess I could buy a fitted cap and put the change on whatever hockey game. Maybe the game that I'm at. Maybe the third period over under, because it's not as simple as just the winners and the losers. I mean, you could bet on a lot, and let me warn you: if you have an addictive personality, you don't have to go through, back rooms of the bars anymore. You don't have to go, you don't have to find a bookie. You don't have to bet offshore. You can go to the windows. It's a lot more accessible. And I think that it's, I'm not going to put the anti-gambling number up here or anything, but I think that it's dangerous. I have seen firsthand how the accessibility to placing wagers with really no regulation, unless you self-trespass yourself from the casinos, which I got a couple buddies that played poker here obsessively, and they had to self-ban themselves. And what happens, with a self-ban is really nothing unless you get caught, unless you turn over your ID to win a jackpot. And why wouldn't you? You have to walk away from the table. It could be potentially $1,500. But you wouldn't get that $1,500 because you'd be arrested for trespassing. Those guys at least knew that they needed help. It's the guys that don't report themselves and end up in the ditch. And these are the extreme stories of any type of addiction, but it's a very real thing. And I know that people are rooting for it. People can't wait for the revenue for the state, and I'm rah-rah about that. I just approach it with caution. I'm not the gambling type myself. I might throw 20 on a future or 20 on a game that I'm going to watch while I'm up in Las Vegas, but it is not the betting odds, the gambling window. That is not part. That is not something that I consider supplemental income. Nor do I ever care to. Because I tell you what, you do a lot better when you're playing for entertainment purposes. As I throw up the air quotes here, you do a lot better than when there's actual cheddar. Because I think you're a little more carefree about how you pick. You lose the gambling pool, no big deal. You lose in fantasy football. I don't like fantasy football either. It got really nasty in one of my leagues one year. But you lose in fantasy football. Might get mocked. You might have to wear a tutu and carry around a sign that says what a big loser you are. And anybody that chooses to participate in it has to understand that they're doing it all in good fun. But you love to get that guy that goes into it just assuming he's just going to kick everybody's rear end, and he goes in and he just finishes in dead last. His first and second round picks go down. He doesn't have waiver wire priority until it's too late, and and then maybe he doesn't finish in dead last. But if he does finish in dead last, it's the tutu, it's the pink dress and the heels, and dancing on the city streets or getting some stupid tattoo or stupid haircut. The last couple of years, it wouldn't have mattered all the same. But people got jobs and stuff. The humiliation. It's got to be coverable. Haircut, I wouldn't do. Face tattoo, I would absolutely never do. And quite frankly, if I get ink on my body, it's going to be something that I choose, or at least I have a hand in choosing. Watched a little bit of preseason football. I always preach how it's so stupid. It doesn't matter. Don't buy into it. And then it's like you wake up on Saturday morning and you go to the NFL Network and you're just watching not Andy Dalton, but Justin Fields by the time I wake up on Saturdays. And I'm watching the Ohio State quarterback, give the Bears a lot of promise. And then after the game is over, my wife, who's from Chicago, she talks about it. She's like, it's the Dolphins. And it completely dismisses all the good tidings that I'm sure existed among Bear fans that aren't self-loathing about being Bears fans. But, going back to Friday night, Cardinals stalled a lot, but this is Colt McCoy and Chris Streveler out on the field. McCoy goes 6 of 7. Streveler, about 50% of his passes get complete. They end up settling for field goals, but I think you watch what do they kick? 4 field goals in that game. And my takeaway from that is that Matt Prater won't miss a field goal in a big spot. At least it's highly unlikely. I feel a lot better about having Matt Prater than I didn't feel about having Cody Parkey. Watch Cody Parkey doink one off the uprights in the Browns win over Jacksonville on Saturday. But, it's good to see the youth of the Cardinals playing. It was nice to see live action from Zaven Collins, playing against somebody that wasn't in the Conference USA, I'm going to say. They might play in the American Athletic Conference, but Zaven Collins looked like a monster among boys. Not just a man among boys, but just his size playing for Tulsa. He was the reason that you watched any Tulsa football last year, and I think that he's a good reason to watch Cardinals football as well. But we're going to see what happens when Eno Benjamin isn't the primary ball carrier, which I think breaks the heart of ASU fans. But you got to separate Saturday from Sunday. I do love the Sun Devils, but they go to the NFL. I'm not rooting for N'Keal Harry to do well with the New England Patriots. I never rooted for Terrell Suggs to do well with the Ravens. It was good when he was playing for the Cardinals, but that didn't last very long. Obviously, I think that it's very nice to see this team on the field. I don't think that we've seen anything close to impressive from the Dallas Cowboys thus far between the Hall of Fame game and what they did against the Arizona Cardinals. Other big news in the world of sports this week, we also had the cornfield game between the Yankees and the White Sox. Lots of home runs in that game, lots of nostalgia in that game, and I said it on my national show during the week. I'm not a big fan of the movie. I don't think that it's God's gift to baseball fans. I really don't. I see a snarly young man in Kevin Costner, and I thought this as a kid. This isn't my old man get off my lawn voice here, but this is real. That Kevin Costner went to Berkeley to get as far away from my father as possible, and then he ends up back on the family farm. And Amy Madigan, just never seemed to want to go either way with it. She never really leaned into it, but she never, she wasn't like the Timothy Busfield character in that movie, and he was rotten too. And Terrence Mann, and I understand. It was probably more of an 80s thing. Like Mr. Miyagi wasn't this pleasant, outgoing, friendly handyman at first either. So, it was just, kind of the era. But you get the, I like Eight Man Out. I think Eight Man Out tells a story. It tells a real story. And it's not for the dreamers. You want dreamers, go watch Angels in the Outfield. Go watch the Disney movies. You want to see some fun stuff. I don't even think that Field of Dreams is Kevin Costner's best baseball movie. I think it's Bull Durham, which I also am a little skittish about. I think it's funny. But I think that it's a little bit weird looking back on all the awkward fits that you had. Wilford Brimley, Robert Wuhl. Tim Robbins. Tim Robbins, the only person in sports cinema history to throw the ball worse than Tim Robbins is the guy who played John Kinsella, Kevin Costner's father in Field of Dreams. Of course, we're not evaluating the little kid from Jerry Maguire. The human head weighs 8 pounds kid. Because that throw at the end that they tried to sell you on, he's going to be a great athlete, the Jerry's going to want to represent. Bogus. I actually have seen For the Love of the Game. I think that, despite its Cleveland Browns connection, that Draft Day is tough to watch for me. I think that Tin Cup. I think Tin Cup is a really fun Kevin Costner sports movie. But, Bull Durham, Bull Durham was 40 years ago almost. And in Bull Durham, he's the washed up player. So, we have had so much time pass since Crash Davis played for the Bulls of Durham and mentored along Nuke LaLoosh. Ebby? Was his first name Ebby? Oh, he was an awkward baseball player. You didn't have to convince me that he was rough around the edges. That kind of came with casting him in the part. Cornfield game ends with the White Sox, Tim Anderson hitting a walk-off home run into the cornfield. It seemed like an easier game for the offense on Thursday night. If you liked Field of Dreams, you probably appreciated this concept a little bit more. And I do like the off-the-reservation concepts that MLB has incorporated. They played at a military base, I believe, in South Carolina a couple of years ago. They played out at the Little League World Series facility 2 years ago, maybe. And then, here we go. We've got the cornfield game. It was big news. It was big news in August, which, it doesn't really lend itself to a lot other than crippling injuries ruining a team. And this year we've got, free agency in the other sports. I don't like giving a lot of oxygen to the Los Angeles Lakers, but I'm just going to look at that Russell Westbrook acquisition and wish the Lakers some luck. In all sincerity, good luck making that work. I like the Suns picking up Landry Shamet, and I like seeing him in the Valley jersey, which means that I think that they're going to bring back the City Edition jerseys, specifically that Valley jersey, with maybe just a few tweaks. And that's that's something that we can look forward to. We saw Rondale Moore a little bit. I think he had 3 catches the other night. Yeah, I'm curious to see what this team at full strength is going to look like, but maybe Cliff doesn't want to play his cards too far from the vest, and I can certainly appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to a place, I think it's a national chain, but I got one right around the corner from me, and Jen asked me for cookies on Friday, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get like 4 cookies. I'll get a couple of chocolate chip cookies, and I'll bring them home. And I just got to give a shout out to Crumble Cookies, Carside delivery. You don't even have to get out of your car. Order right from the Crumble app. I really appreciated that, and it was nice to kind of brainstorm to learn about all the departures that we've had in sports. And we're bringing that Wranglers name back for indoor football this year. That previously belonged to Phoenix's or Tempe's chapter of the USFL back in I think their last year was 1984. All right, that's going to do it for me here tonight. I want to thank my man Julian on the other side of the glass. This is CentralCityRadio.com's presentation of a serious sports show, a super serious sports show. I'm Jeff Rich. Follow along at Jeff Rich Talks and JeffRichTalks.com. Have a good night, everybody.